I want to welcome you to the first installment of the Louisiana REALTORS Legislative Insider Series, featuring Speaker Pro Tem Tanner McGee, who hails from the Bayou region. Representative McGee is in his second term in the House of Representatives and has quickly risen in legislative leadership, due in large part to his ability to work with both sides of the legislative aisle. In this video, Representative McGee discusses the historic 2020 legislative sessions where dozens of first-time legislators were faced with rapid on-the-job training due to the unprecedented 2020 COVID-19 pandemic. Representative McGee also has a few words to share about the strength of the Louisiana REALTORS Advocacy Program.
Well, I think you can see that we have a brand new legislature for the first time, maybe in Louisiana's history, at least since the 1970s. And what I mean by that is you had term limits put in place years ago, but the full effect of them hasn't hit until now because you had members changing bodies, moving from the House to the Senate when they were termed out. And what you've now seen is all those House members that moved on to the Senate have termed out. And then you had a 40% new turnover in the House of members. So this is truly, I think, the first time you can say the legislature is brand new. And with that comes a learning curve, and it comes with, you lose some institutional knowledge, but then you also gain some new ideas and new perspective at looking things. So I think these two sessions was our first opportunity to see what that looked like and how we would operate. That was the hardest part of the entire session, and something we're still working on. I think it's not something people want to hear about back home, but going out to dinner with new members, getting to know them, having conversations, learning about them, developing relationships built on trust is a huge part of the Capitol. It's a process. Being at the Capitol, passing a bill is a process. And despite what your preconceived notions before you get there, they're much different when you actually get there. And these new members, there's a huge learning curve on how it actually works. The old, like, how a bill becomes a law, you can make a video out of it, but it's really a complex process. And there's an art to it as well. And these guys and girls have not had the opportunity to really learn it. And so they're asking questions, trying to get everybody together. It's been difficult, and I still think there's a certain part of the new members who don't necessarily feel completely involved in understanding the process yet. That's something that I sense from them, and I still want to have conversations with them. They're still searching that out, where when we came in, we had all that, and we got to see the process and learn it from beginning to end in a full environment. So it's still, they will be behind the learning curve, not as a fault of themselves, but because of due to the circumstances. One of the biggest differences from my last term to this term is the cooperation between the House and the Senate. It's in the past, the House was kind of on its own island. The Senate and the governor's office were really close, and so you always had these sort of fights between the House and the Senate and the governor's office. And that's, if you wanted to make it very simplistic, it's House versus them. With all the institutional knowledge leaving the Senate that we discussed a little while ago, House and Senate has really come together. The Speaker and the Senate President talk every day. They meet every day on an issue. We try to ferret out all the real problems between us before we really start moving the bills and the packages so that it goes more seamlessly. It's put a lot of, I think, power in both the Senate President and the House Speaker because they're not really taking direction from the governor. But that's kind of the dynamic that's set up now. It's more House and Senate coming together, talking, working through issues, and ferreting new bills out before it gets to the governor's office. The governor has had to negotiate more directly to the legislature than he ever has. I think in the past, it's fair to say that he would just sit down with maybe the Senate President, and the Senate President took marching orders, not marching orders, but took direction, shall we say. And then that's how it went. Now he's truly negotiating with both the House and Senate President. So it was unusual, though, for the House and Senate to call themselves into session to deal with budget issues or anything else other than redistricting. We will make the call again. We think it's our prerogative now. We have established that this is the new way of doing things, is we do not want to let the governor have the only say on what's in the call. So we will, I think, necessarily beat him to the punch and call our own session and dictate what we believe should be the terms of the session. The big thing outside of the budget is, I'm sure you might have been reading media reports, if Louisiana's unemployment trust fund dips below $100 million, by law, the Workforce Commission must institute a 30% payroll tax, up to 30% payroll tax on businesses to make up the difference until it gets to $400 million. So to avoid that, which we'd like to avoid, we will have to address that in session some way. And so you're going to see us come together. That will be on the table, and I'm sure there's going to be a host of other coronavirus things that we're going to be dealing with. But you're going to have to at least deal with that in addition to the budget. Well, first, I tell us to everybody, it was amazing that we had session at all. There was a lot of people who told us not to do it. There was a lot of people in the media who told us it was a bad idea, that we couldn't do it safely. A ton of work went behind the scenes into making session safe, because we had to pause session, backing up a little bit, we had to pause session, the original regular session, at the outset of coronavirus. Then we came back, finished that session, and then came back for a special. And in between that pause, we set up all the safety measures. Getting all of that together was way more complicated and difficult than people will ever realize. But I'm still proud that we were able to do it safely and pass laws and show that the legislature can meet, and it can issue policy, and it can conduct its business under any circumstance. The Realtors do a great job of advocating. I think they're one of the best organizations as far as not just at the top, but also at the bottom level, the grassroots side of it, of talking to their legislators and building those relationships. So I think that entire team of advocacy will really put the Realtors in a great spot going forward. I don't think there's a will to do something because y'all have established those relationships, and you continue to establish those relationships. And so I think the legislators know that and respected the job that y'all do. On the other side of the coin is there's always the issue of states' finances. Unfortunately, we had, over the last term, had really built up the state's finances in a very productive way where we were pretty stable. Undue to nothing that we've done, the coronavirus has definitely impacted that. So of course we're going to be looking for money anywhere we can, and so there's always the avenue that somebody might have to take it on the chin when the state needs to make its rent, because unfortunately we're not the federal government and we got to balance the budget, and we do that every single time. So I think you have to look at those two things working against each other, but I'm confident that the advocacy team y'all have in place will make sure that all those issues are put to bed quickly.